Welcome to the Dennis Postema Show. I'm Dennis Postema, and today we have a special guest, Anthony Trucks. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
So, I want to talk to you a little bit about what does success mean to you, Anthony?
Ooh, success is control. That's it. It's not. I think there was a conversation I had a while back where someone's like, "What's success? It's freedom, right?" And my brain goes, "Is it?" And I thought, well, we have freedom to choose, right? But then sometimes with the freedom we don't, or we have the freedom to choose a job we hate, a relationship we don't want to be in, and there's a freedom, but there's not sometimes a sense of control or actual control. And like, so we live in life, America, land of the free, but like you have a job, sometimes you're stuck in it, you don't want to be in. You have a relationship you can't get out of, you have this body you can't get out of. Control means I can control that I want to get out of this relationship and leave. I feel like I have the control and I exercise it. Or I feel like I have the control and discipline to not eat that thing so I can maintain my weight, or the discipline and control to start something. Or I could get up today and go, I don't want to do any of this stuff, and then do whatever the heck I want. There's a sense of control. And so when I think of success, that's what I think of. Can I create a sense of true and exercisable control in my life? And if I can, it may not be $1 billion. It may not be $1 million. But if you found control, I think you're successful.
That's amazing. I've never heard it put like that. That's a very good perspective on that. What do you think? What do you think some of the fundamentals? What do you think some of the key fundamentals are for you for success?
I think is really having a clear idea of what my day looks like. It sounds odd to say it this way and go there directly, right? But I have a very locked in calendar. Like, and I'm very structured on what it is. The reason is because I want my free time to be unimpeded.
Mm.
I don't want thoughts. I don't want excess mental baggage. I don't want stress. The only way I have that is because I got everything done. The only way to get everything done is to schedule and structure it properly. So most people are going, I don't have any time. Yeah, you do. You just have no idea what you're doing in your time. You have the same time I got. We all hear that. The difference is I spend time preparing what I'll do in the time I have. So I don't just sit there and go, I got a lot of things I got to do list this whole week. And I go, I got a to-do list. What does my life look like? When am I getting up? I'm going to bed. What am I eating? What am I doing? And then I go, okay, great. In my in-between time, where's the spaces that I want to work? Okay, got that. Now, of the things I have to do, how long will these take? 20 hours, 30 hours, 3 hours? Great. Let me hour by hour infuse this modularly into my calendar. And now what happens, I get up and I rock and roll. So when I get up, I don't have wasted time. I'm not just, spinning my wheels and flicking through Instagram for hours and going, I have no time. I'm getting things done like tactically, but at 2:45, like when we're done, I'm gonna go get my kids. I become dad. I'm gonna put on dad shorts. I'm gonna put on a dirty shirt. I'm gonna go work in the garage. Like, and I believe me, I have a ton to get done right now, but it's all where it's supposed to be. It's in my calendar. It's scheduled properly. So the idea is I create that sense of control by controlling myself to get things done.
How do you set that up? How do you set up that actual calendar and that how does that work for you? And when do you set it up to or when do you
Oh
set
man,
it?
I've done whole trainings on this because I started doing this in 2011. Somebody gave me the sheet and goes, "Here, figure this out," because I had no idea to market my business. I couldn't plan anything. I couldn't get anything done. I was working too much in, not enough on.
Mm.
And so over the last 12 years, I kind of refined this. I actually made a planner called a GPS planner that I think there's one of them right here. I'm actually shipping some more out to my Amazon clients. Like, it's a planner that I made because I'm like, I needed to have a planner, but the more important piece is how I use it. And it's essentially what I talked about. The biggest thing I want to do, I want to be able to work on a project right now. Let's say there's, four project A, B, C, and D. I want to be working on project A without even having any thought of C, D, and E. I don't want that in my head, or B, C, and E, whatever it is. Because what happens is I can't fully work on project A. It's just, I don't have the focus because all the things are lingering in my mind. So I go, how do I get that done? And I go, well, only way I'm going to have peace is if I know that those ones are going to be done before the deadline, right? And be done adequately. So I go, well, how do I do that? Well, I've got to like know when it's going to get planned. Okay, well, how do I got to plan in advance? But then I started doing that. I started realizing, well, shoot, when I do that, my life falls apart. Like, I'm doing all this work and no life. And I go, why is that? I go, oh, because I'm putting work before life. All right, let's put life first. What does life look like? Get up, eat, hang with the family. When am I going to stop working? When am I going to work out? I put all that stuff in there. And then I started realizing if I do do that, I can then plug in the rest around that and I'm fluid. Here's the other problem though. I started noticing that when I would put it in, or try to put it in, I couldn't. I had meetings all the time. Well, I got a meeting here, so I can't do that. And it was like a headache. It was chaos. And so I'm like, I have no time to plan my life. And then I flipped 2 pages back and I go, well, there's nothing planned 3 weeks from now. There's just, there's nothing at all 4 weeks from now. What if I put this plan in the third week from now, and then the fourth, and then ongoing? So I started doing that. And now what happens is, weirdly, work would find its way to fit around my life.
That's
Isn't that crazy? And
yeah,
so now what I always have is I have a plan. This is before. Now the planner's always been out. It's like it's about 4 to 5 weeks out at any given moment. But I know like every Sunday I sit down and I plan the next week, but that week is 4 weeks from now. So what I want to have done, I'm always on top of it. So then I take the projects and I'm infusing them. It's not infusing it over this week. It's just too much, right? The 20 hours, 40 hours, that might be over 3, 4, 5 months or 2, 3, 4 weeks. But now it's structured out. And I rarely have things that really trickle into the fourth week heavily. So by the
right.
fourth week, it's mostly just making sure my life is in track. And now I get the call, like you reached out, like, hey, can we record something? If I didn't run my life this way, we couldn't do what we're doing right now.
Right.
I looked at my calendar and I go, I have my time at this time. Do I want to give it to Dennis? Yeah, let's do it. But it's there because I told other people no. Like it's just the way that things work. And so I'm in a heavier control of my schedule. Things get done and I'm in more peace.
That's a really cool idea. I'm actually going to I'm taking that up on taking you up on that for
Rock
sure.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a training. I'm doing a whole train. So there's a bunch of Amazon execs that I coached recently. Actually, last week I was up in Arizona, in Seattle working with them, and this is what we finished on. Like, how do you do this? I'm like, cool. Let's do a little training. So we're gonna do extra time where I sit down and just unpack it all for them on a call, like make it crystal clear how this all works.
that sounds amazing. That's a really good. I've never even thought about making it so far out in advance, like in that structurally. I mean, obviously I've thought about planning things in advance, but that sounds extremely structured and a good way to do it.
It
So that,
works, man.
yeah,
It's without it, I'd be freaking out. But yeah, it's super simple for me, and it makes my life way more enjoyable because now, like when I want to hang out with my kids, I'm with my kids. I'm not running around hoping I'm getting. It's just I'm here. I'm present. And that is a gift that I gave to myself for the stuff I do in my structure.
how do you block out that project A, project B, and project C? Because that to me that would be super helpful.
Oh
And
man, here's the truth. Most of our things that we have as deadlines that give us anxiety, they're all self-imposed. No one is waiting for them. To
that's a
be
good,
honest,
yeah,
it says I gotta get it done, and I realize like, no, I don't. Like, no one's waiting for it. I want to put
yeah.
it out. It's to be cool when it comes out. But if I try to shove it in, I'm not going to give it the focus it needs. I'll get it done, but it won't be at the level that I want to give it. And so what I do is I go, I take a look at my ideas and I have this metaphor of like, imagine a bunch of dogs in a playpen, all these cool ideas. Imagine all the dogs are sleeping, all your ideas are dormant. That works. But if you were to wake up all 10 dogs at the same time, these dogs can't live in here. They're side to side. They can barely move and turn around, right?
Yeah.
So I go, what's the solution? Some got to go. So what do? I give the dogs away or I put some to sleep. Sounds crazy. The reason I say it like this is because animal lovers, you get the pain of the thought of that. But that's how ideas are for us. We're that emotionally connected to some of them. So I got to get the dog away or put it to sleep. And let's say I got 4 ideas left. All right, cool. Well, they can't all be running at the same time. So I got to make sure some stay asleep. I can wake one up and feed it. It can move around a little bit. The other three are sleeping. Then that one goes down. The next one wakes up. So what I do is I find the ideas that the most pertinent for now, the 4 or 5 that I got that I can do in the next 30, 60 days. The other ones I push out and it's okay. And again, no one's waiting on it. If it's a book I want to write and I can't fit it in right now to give it the quality of focus and attention I want, do it in 6 months. You go, oh, how are you going to be alive in 6 months? I don't. And if I'm not, I'm going home. And God's going to be cool with the fact that I didn't get the book done. Like,
Yeah.
but the idea is I want to live these moments now and present. Because if I do try and put that book in now, that book takes the time of me coaching my kids. That book takes the time of me hanging with my wife. That book takes the time of me lifting and working out and doing my health thing. So I'm enjoying. So I'm not going to push something forward to serve somebody else if it means not serving me.
That's that's awesome. I mean, that is a really good that is such a good metaphor. That's wow, that's powerful stuff. That's so tell wow. That's very useful. Put the dog to rest, leave it dormant. I love that. So I'm gonna have to try that for sure. So tell
Yes,
me tell me a little bit about what it was like, how you got here, how you got all the way to your success. I mean, what was life like leading up to this?
Stucky. You have it's those moments where I love that statement that says a smooth sea never made skilled sailors.
Mhm.
Like I don't like the craziness of my life, but I appreciate it. Like it gave me some different muscles, different experiences. It wired me a certain way. And so the journey to here was a couple things. One was I'm very grateful for the life that I have compared to what it could be. Like I talked about earlier, that gratitude like really gives me a sense of like I'm winning, man. I'm in what I call bonus rounds. Like if you remember back in the day, duck hunt,
Yeah,
where
oh yeah.
yeah, like you go to shoot the gun. Like if you do, you get like this one time where all the ducks just shoot up. You just doing your thing. It's the bonus rounds. You've already completed the level. Let's just have fun. So for me, I'm like, dude, I'm in bonus rounds right now. I'm living a life that I'm not supposed to have lived statistically, right? So that's the first part of it. The second thing, you go, well, how do you get success? It's like, for me, I find that all of us have the possibility to live a really cool life, but we mess the plan up. We mess it up by fear, apprehension, letting opportunities slide by. We mess up the plan with our plan. And the way that I've learned to not get in the way is I find like the way for the universe to make us jump up and pursue something is curiosity. There's
Mm,
something unique about curiosity that goes, I wonder. And when you wonder, you'll give something more time and attention than you would ever give it if forced. So you may read on that thing and look that thing up and pay attention more and go watch the show like that you never would if someone said, go do it. You're like, it's drudgery and you put it off and it's procrastination. So because you're curious, you do. Now, what happens is we have an investment bias psychologically as humans. The more I give to something, the more I want back. If I
right.
give you money, I want more back. And so for us, when I've given all my time to something, the return typically is an emotional feeling called passion. I go and show up and I'm curious about how this works. And man, I gave us this last month of this. I really like this thing. I get this passion. So you start chasing passions, going after these things, seeing what they are. And then if you're lucky enough, and I don't even know if luck's the thing, if you stick with it long enough, on the path to passion, you will stumble into a pothole of success. And I think purpose. Like I'm passionate, I'm walking on this path of just passion, and I stumble into a pothole of, we'll call it purpose. Like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I think the reason why many people never get to that pothole of purpose is because they never chase the passions. They're curious. They go to do it, and someone goes, "That's a stupid idea, Sally. Why would you do that?" Hey, Brad, don't do that. That's a dumb thing. Ah, you're right. They don't do it.
Yeah.
And they get off the road of the passion because someone's making fun of them. They never get to stumble in the pothole. But the people that we know that are successful, if you talk to them, they're like, yeah, I don't know. I just got into real estate one day because I was, curious about it. And, they keep going. I fell in love with it. That's usually how it works. I tried this thing. I don't know, it was an accident. And then all of a sudden I'm here and I fell in love with it because they leaned in and the passion led to them finding that thing that it accessed the best parts of them. And there's a benefit to utilizing these crazy skill sets and just matched. I said there's a sweet spot between when you find something you love to do and the world loves that you do it. And so for me, I found like that's where I get this purpose. And so my success is tied to me operating on all cylinders in a space that is tied to things that I was curious about. I chased the passion against the honestly the blessings of people close to me, but then I landed in a place of purpose. And dude, I'm loving it.
Is that what drives you? Is that, I mean, like the drive, it just seems, is that what drives you now? Is that,
No, it's more of the standard I set for myself that drives me. There's not this motivational tick. So
yeah.
my standard is to one, be enjoy as I do something. It's a personal standard. And I know that for me, it's looking at the positives because I don't love everything I do every day. Last Friday sucked. Right. So the idea is, can I find things and I'll seek a silver lining. I'll seek it intentionally. Like, what's the positive here? Or I'll ask somebody, what am I not seeing? But I think the drive for me is to go, I am Anthony Trucks. And when I say that, I know the meaning of that. I know what that means to how I show up as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a coach, as a positive person to someone you may never know. I don't like the idea that like I may be in an environment where I know that the person I'm talking to will never know who I am and me being rude. And
Mhm.
it's I don't do that. You may never ever see me again, but your touch point with this face is going to be a positive person because my standard is positive. I just had this really interesting back and forth on customer service with a piece of equipment I purchased. And it was just they changed it up and I wasn't happy. And I was, not too happy with it. They don't know me. They have no idea what, but I handled it with grace and patience. And I knew what they were trying to do. And I didn't fly off the handle as best I could because I knew that's not my standard for my humanity. So when you ask how do I stay motivated, move like it's not. It's just I know who I am and I'm going to be who I am or better every day.
That's amazing. How did you develop those standards, and how would you suggest that somebody who has a problem with standards, because I mentioned before, I deal a lot with that with my teams and things. How would you
Yeah.
suggest that they develop those standards the way that you have?
Well, two parts. One part is you got to find a standard that's like I call it 1 inch out of your comfort zone or 1 inch out of control. It's got to make your butt pucker just a little bit. Like it's like, ooh, that's a tough one, right? The second thing is this is literally the dark work I talk about.
Yeah.
Hardest dark work you can find because there's this thing called cognitive dissonance. You know if you're not right or living truthfully.
Yeah.
So it comes to those defining moments of your life when you really have to draw on something, you know if you deserve it or not. And if you don't deserve it, you will not fight tooth and nail for it. You just won't. The standard won't be met. But when you do that hard, dark work and something comes up and you know you deserve it, you will fight till the end to make sure you get it. I'm talking, it's a difference between getting in a ring with someone that boxes and a boxer. That one's going to murder you, one's going to be okay losing. And so the idea is, and then the thing is that boxer doesn't have it because he wants it, because he like look at the Rocky montage. The reason Rocky went so hard in the end of the movies wasn't because he wanted to win. It's because he knew in his heart he worked to deserve to win. You didn't deserve to beat him. And so it's this whole like visual, display of like what happens in humanity. And so the way you get that standard and you hold it as, I know what I've done. I know how hard I've worked. I know the caliber of what I've desired to be as a man and how I've upheld that in front of the light and behind the dark spots that no one will ever know, of being integrity, of being honest, of being forthright, of living what I talk about. So because of that, my standard gets held because I don't want to let me down. I don't want to be out of alignment. There's a human draw to be in alignment that is so powerful that studies have shown that if you were given 5 pieces of proof that you were wrong, you will still fight to be right because of your desire to be in alignment. So, what that tells me is as much as that's about being bad, it's about also being good.
Right.
If I know who I am and I want to be in alignment, I will fight to be in my alignment. So, it's not this drive every day to do that. It's that this is who Anthony is. And I'm going to continue being Anthony.
That's strong. As would you say that helps with your confidence every day, like keeping those standards
Yeah.
and yeah.
Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
know. I know when I don't do something, I don't feel great. If I miss a workout, I don't feel good. So I don't like to miss them. There's definitely those things in there. And people don't realize how it oozes in, dude. Like if you're a salesperson and you tell yourself, I'm gonna do a workout every single day, I'm gonna do this thing every day, and you stop doing it,
Oh
your
yeah.
heart. So you won't push the way you have to push. Like you'll be in a meeting, you won't fight the same way because you internally don't think you deserve it. You won't even, it's not a conscious thought. It's just you've taken a little bit of your armor away.
Right.
You've, like if you think about back in the day, Street Fighter, like the power button, the power bar, how your health is,
Yeah.
some of it's gone. Like, it's just, it's different. So for me, my confidence is not built through thinking I've done something or in the past I did it. It's going, have I earned the right to win right now?
That's
And
yeah.
knowing that moment's coming, I'm earning it every day.
That's that's yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, like when if I skip a couple days for some any reason, like whatever it is, and I get back to it and I start working out, I'm like, no matter what happens, I cannot skip workouts because like it's just so
Yeah.
crazy the way the different every single thing that you operate on a daily basis, the way it's different to where working out versus not. It's just it's so crazy, but it's subconsciously that's you're right. It's just it's programmed in your mind that you earn it, and that's I love that. Yeah.
Mm. That's it.
So if you could give your 20-year-old self one sentence, if you could go back in time and give your 20-year-old self one sentence, it can
Yeah.
be a run on, what would it be?
Well, run on one single sentence. What would I tell him? Oh, this would be the fun one. Hey, no one cares. Work harder. That's that one. I mean, I grew up with a lot of reasons to do poorly, a
Yeah.
ton. I mean, I statistically could have done a lot and would have been valid in a lot of people's eyes. They would have felt bad. Like if I'd have done like the crime route or whatever, They'd have been like, yeah, I get it. He was given away and he was beaten as a
Yeah.
kid, starved, and he was tortured. Like, I get it. Like, there's some crazy things that happen in his life. It makes sense. It sucks that he's doing this, but I get it. They would say that. But for me, it's like, and not to say that I ever had this mentality, but I did at some point just go like, gosh, it just sucks. I just, you should feel bad for me because it was so hard on me. But at the end of the day, nobody cares.
Yeah.
What they care about is what you create. So work. That's it. Just work. The solution to almost everything is winning. That's the crazy thing. And winning doesn't have to be a game. It's just win the day, dude. Like get through some things and push and work harder. Stack it. It ain't gonna happen in day one, but just for me going back, excuses have no place because you get to have one of two things. You get the excuse or you get the success, but you cannot have both.
That's that's so true. That's 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 amazing. And when you talk about statistics, I mean, I was just at a men's retreat like probably 2 months ago, and they gave statistics of households without a father, right? That's present. And oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I could not. I was floored. The suicide, the drugs. I mean, it is just insane what our country's going through when
Yeah.
it comes to not so statistically, what would you say that it keeps you, what's the difference maker that makes you a victor instead of a victim?
A lot of it's my kids because I didn't have the unit I have growing up. I didn't have like it's odd to me still some days that my blood children live in my home. That wasn't my normalcy. So it's like the fact that my kids live with me, that's not what I knew growing up. So that's one piece of it. But man, I think there's something where when I leave this planet, I know I'm going to be remembered by a select few. It's not going to be this worldwide thing, right? But I also want to know that when my kids are out in the world and at any point in time, like if they somebody goes, "Who's your dad?" They go, "Anthony Trucks." That person goes, "Great guy."
Yeah, that's
They may
amazing.
not have to know me. They may not anything, but I want them to have the ability for their dad to be someone that people praise because there's something to that. There's something to kids having a human that they can admire and look up to and be proud of. Like my wife, same thing in what she does. Like there's something to it for our kids in a sense of I don't want to be like I'm showing them what's possible. They've seen it at this point. They know you can do whatever you want, right? And that what they choose to do is different. I don't want it to be my thing, but I want them to do that thing with integrity and honesty and class and character, so that when someone mentions the name truck, someone goes, "Hey, good people."
Yeah, I love that. It's so amazing to me, like how different my life. It took me a long time to be able to have kids, right? So it's so amazing to me once I had my daughter, how being their hero and being and the way your life changes, because everything you thought a way worked, it just completely
Yeah,
it,
it's cool.
yeah, your purpose changes, everything, what you thought was real, it's just insane. So
It's wild, man. The whole thing's it flips itself up on its head. It's why you have to have a foundational like anchor, and that's why I think it's better to like subject yourself to difficulty earlier or
mm,
even like parents who coddle their kids. It's not healthy. You can't rob your kids of their hardship because what happens is I want my kids to learn these crazy hard emotional lessons in safe, non-dangerous environments.
right.
What I mean by that is like my son right now is in college learning what it means to be disciplined and have structure and how to fail heavily. But he doesn't have a wife or a mortgage or kids, or a career that he has to like battle through with this emotional journey. So now, like, he had a really tough Pac-12 championship, and like it was a heartbreak. He was crying, but I was like, okay. And it sounds odd to say, like, I'm happy it happened now, not when he's married and has kids, and he all of a sudden loses himself. Because I think that's what happens is people they miss out on understanding these problems, and they dive off into things that will escape. Their
Yeah.
escapist habits, right? And so for me, I need my kids to have these really tough things now while they got mom and dad in the house to help them through it, as opposed to when they're off on their own across the country and only person they feel like they can talk to is nobody. And that's
Yeah.
problematic.
Yeah, that's very I appreciate that. I just talked about that this morning in our monthly meeting about growing up with that and being able to face those things and the work ethic that it causes and not at so
Get
that's
it.
very well explained. Yeah. What would you say your best advice you've ever heard is?
Best advice I've ever heard. It's never as good, never as bad as you think. That was what my coach in college used to say. And he would say it that way because, and he had some funny things he'd do. Like I was killing it my senior year. And it was we were playing against a team, and I was leading the Pac-12 in Pac-10 in sacks. I was like second in the country in sacks. He thought I was high on my haunches, and so he goes, "Look, you ain't nothing unless you go out there, you get a sack, force a fumble, recover the fumble, pick it up, and score a touchdown." So I go, "Okay." We're playing Cal Berkeley the next game, and we go out there, and they'd come to our place, and I go off on a blitz, and I come around the bend, I beat the running back, I sack the quarterback, I force the fumble, it's out in the ground, I scoop it up, he tackles me, I'm on cloud nine. I run to the sideline, I look up at him, and he goes, "But you didn't score a touchdown." His language. Um, his
I
name's
love
DP. He's actually, I coach him now through our coaching program for speakers. But I say that to go, it wasn't that he wasn't celebrating me, but he was like saying, "Look, it's never as good. When it's too good, you lose yourself in how great you are. You lose your humbleness. You lose your drive. It's never as good as you truly think. And it's not a bad thing. It could be great,
it.
but there's always a room to grow. Like there's a guy, Harvey McKay, said, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. So it's okay, like to still want to be better. So it's like it's never as good, so don't get too crazy high, but it's celebrate.
Yeah.
And then it's never as bad. I think when we get to the point of thinking it's the end of the world, that's where you have a lot of people take their lives and do craziness because we think it's worse than it actually is. We don't put it in true perspective, which is you're just another person on the planet, man. Like it's not to say it's bad, but it's good. And at the same time, it's like the people that love me, I go on a stage and I love doing what I do on a stage, but I know you don't love me. No one's gonna come hang out with me tonight. It's gonna be me in my house with my kids.
Yeah.
And so the reality is whatever goes on in the world that's horrible, as long as it doesn't affect them, it's never as bad as I think. It sucks, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end all. So I can have a little bit of I look at that. You ever heard of the bracelet called Loci?
No,
It's
huh?
I'll conclude with this. This is a bracelet brand called Loci. They get this dirt from the bottom of the lowest point on Earth. The I think it's the what's one of the seas, like the I can't like the mud, like a mud.
Yeah.
Sea, the Dead Sea, something like that.
Yeah.
Might be the Dead Sea, lowest point on Earth, and then they get something from the top of Mount Everest, some water from up there. And so what it is they put it in these beads and they put it in the bracelet. And what it is when it's high, be humble. When there's lows, be hopeful. And so the idea with loci, I love it. And that's essentially what it's all built around is like the highs and the lows. And so for me, I think that's the greatest advice is it's never as good, never as bad. So in the highs, be humble, and the lows, be hopeful.
That's good advice. What is there anything that you want to share with our audience that we haven't talked about or anything you got upcoming that you want to share?
Um, no, I mean, for me, it's this is this. Here's what I will share. Take something I've said and use it. That's it. The idea that I've noticed about success, it's never about going big. People
Yeah.
go, you gotta go big. No, don't go big, man. You'll have moments to go big, but don't shoot for big. Shoot for really, really small in a really big way. Shoot to find some simple thing you can do and stick with it the longest you can think possible. Because that's where true success, like it happens small before it happens big. Tiny incremental things, little by little, and they build and they stack. And then eventually you have this big moment. And people will go like, "Oh, you went real big, didn't you?" No, I didn't. It was a natural succession of the last 3 years. It looks big because this is the first year seeing it because I'm coming out of the dark into the light with it. But I didn't go big, man. I went stupidly small in ways no one else could touch.
That's awesome advice. That's very good advice. Well, thank you. How did they get a hold of you, Anthony?
I'll just go to at Anthony Trucks on Instagram or anthonytrucks.com or darkwork.com. You'll find me on those places.
Thank you very much. I can't wait to hear you speak again. Just amazing. I appreciate all your advice today. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me, man. Seriously.
Thank you.